Hey guys, thank you for having me back at GDC. Before we really get started, guys, this has been amazing. Just putting this together takes so much time and effort, and so I just round of applause for Mike, Tim, and Lana to put this together, guys. When we started this, it was like 8 of us. Now there's 37. You guys should see the email threads that go through, and I can't read all of them. I would just call Mike and be like, hey, can you just catch me up? But the amount of work has been fantastic. So thanks a lot. So studying of creature animation in films and games. Let me see if that works. There we go. So quickly about myself. My name is Jalil Sadool. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Steamroller Studios. A little bit about my background. I've got 13 years of experience in the industry. Before Steamroller Studios, I was working at Rhythm & Hues, Weta Digital, and DreamWorks Animation. I was an animator and senior animator on The Chronicles of Narnia, Avatar, Prince Caspian, a few more movies, and a couple games as well, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I was animation lead and supervisor on The Rise of Planet of the Apes, on Young Caesar, How to Train Your Dragon 2 on the Bouillabaisse, and Archean Spray, and I am currently working with Epic on Fortnite and Phoenix Labs on Dauntless. So, 2 more interesting stuff. So game animation, feature animation, and VFX animation. I'm actually holding a P right now, so let's see how this goes. And I'm usually never prepared, but I had to prepare this time. That conversation, regarding game animation, feature animation, VFX, really, it's something that I've been having, a lot of discussions, arguments, everything with a lot of my colleagues, and it really started when schools started introducing game animation as a class, and that's been to me. I look at, and it's been confusing and a little frustrating as well, because especially when I hear students go, they label themselves, I'm a game animator, or I'm a film animator, I'm a feature animator, I'm a TV animator. When it comes to animation, the craft itself, there is no difference. When the difference between working on a game or a film might be the same as the difference between working on 2 feature films. Animation itself, the craft itself, an arc is an arc. A performance is a performance, and anticipation is anticipation. The difference is how you adapt the craft to the specific project that you're working on. The difference between working on a game and a feature film can be the same as the difference between working on 2 different feature films. For example, oh yeah, I forgot to click. So anyways, I'm gonna go through this real quick. So for example, working on Rise of the Guardians, then going on to Dragons 2, both feature films, I found the difference in animation between the 2, it was absolutely bigger than the difference between working on the film Avatar, which was a VFX film, and the game Dauntless. So my point here is not that we've been wrong to label or categorize animation, but that animation from one project to another, regardless of it being a film or game, requires the animator to rethink their process, find new workflows, and adapt their craft to the demands of that project. So it's not the animation itself that's different, it's everything around it. So when you're learning animation, the thing you have to know is you have to focus on your craft. You have to make sure that you're working as hard as possible to make yourself the best animator. Not the best game animator, not the best film animator or TV animator, just focus on the craft itself. You will learn the process and the workflow while being on the job. When I left Weta and I went to DreamWorks, I did not go to feature animation school. When I left DreamWorks to go to Steamroller to do games, I didn't go to game animation school. I'm just an animator. I just had to adapt, had to learn about how do I adapt my craft to the specific project. So, one thing I did realize was there is a ramp-up time to get, when you're on a new project. Like for example, on Guardians, when I moved to Dragons, it was a similar ramp-up time. I had to learn the new team, I had to learn what the director wants, the things that I need to do for these dragons to feel alive. And when I move into a game, it's the same process. I have to learn more technical stuff, of course, because it's a game, and I need to learn all the specifics of moving my craft into this new field. So the next two things I'm going to talk about are very much my personal journey and things that I've learned in the industry. And it's doesn't apply to everybody, but it's something that I've been lucky enough to have worked in the VFX feature and the game industry. So starting a shot, and the camera work in the VFX industry, you have something called a live action plate, which is you get the film that they shot. The shot that they did on set with the actor in there, it has all the details in there that the director wants, but no visual effects. Then they send this to our team, and this was when I was at Rhythm and Hues at the museum, and they asked us to actually put characters in there. This is an example of what we call a straight ahead shot, not straight ahead animation, straight ahead shot. It's still playing. Sorry. And why it's a straight ahead shot is because there is no interaction between the creatures and the character. There's barely any interaction with anything else. As you can see, the lion, all the creatures jump from behind there, and right before they jump onto the cage, the shot is cut. So that's a straightforward shot, and it's actually really rare in the VFX industry that you get something like this, something as simple and straightforward. Usually, there's tons of complications, and I'm going to share one with you guys. So the next shot I'm going to show you guys was a nightmare of a shot. And actually, I've never shown this to anybody because it's embarrassing, but I'm going to show it here for the first time. And you guys have all seen it. If you've seen the movie Rise of the Planet of the Apes? Yeah. Anybody? Awesome. And it's a shot that I was stuck with what I had, and I'm going to explain it real quickly before I show it to you guys, just because I do not have the raw live action plate. You just have to believe me. So in that shot, it was on the Golden Gate Bridge where Buck, the gorilla, had to pull this guy from the back of this truck and throw him off the bridge. So the plan was that when it comes to animation, we would actually digidouble the actor and then have the gorilla in CG. Everything would be CG. You guys know what digidouble is? We'll just CG the character instead of using the actor, and then have the gorilla pull him off the bridge, because it's a shot where there's a lot of interaction. It's really difficult to do. So that was the plan, but when it got to the animation department, we were told that because of budget, because we don't have enough money, I'm going to have to use the actor that they shot on set. So I'm going to show you guys the shot. Please don't laugh. I said, please don't laugh. So anyways, we're going to talk about this shot. I swear I can animate, I swear. So we're going to take a look at it. You guys have seen it. It's so embarrassing. We're going to show it in slow-mo and see why it doesn't work. So this guy, when they were shooting him on set, they tied him up with they attached a cable to his back. And instead of pulling him out of the truck, they lifted him up because they didn't care. It was just there to be temp. It was just an idea, just for the length of the shot, because they thought they were going to digidouble that. But when it came to us and they told us to do this, we're like, all right, so how am I going to do that? I need to have the gorilla pull him out. But no, he's not going to pull him out. He's going to lift him up. So when you look at the shot, at the very beginning, he doesn't get pulled. He gets lifted up. So there's no anticipation to the gorilla. He basically lifts the guy up. There is no motivation for him to do that. There basically is no physics whatsoever. And when the guy goes halfway through, watch what happens. The guy flips, the guy spins. Because he gets lifted up, you can totally see. Because they tied the stupid guy with only one cable. Usually when you do something like this, you tie him up with a few cables so you control him in the air, but no, one cable, so of course the stupid guy is going to spin. So I had to figure out how I'm going to make him spin, and my gorilla holding on to him, I tried to have him hold his legs. That didn't work because there was no drag in his legs, so the leg spins, goes through the gorilla. Yep, it does. And then when he throws him, he can't, usually you would drag somebody, there'll be a lot of drag physics to the character, but no, I had to make him push the guy. Worst thing was, I had to make the gorilla jump because the guy was so high up. Watch this, the gorilla will leap up in the air because that's what gorillas do. They love jumping. And so yeah, there's no physics, there's not whatsoever. So anyways, this is embarrassment to my career, but I'm showing it to you guys. And no one will ever see that again. And when I show this in my demo reel, this is all I show. It's pretty cool. No one knows. So this is basically an example of, you know, what can go wrong when, you know, you're working on something that you know, is not well planned on set because they had it, well, it was planned, they had it planned, but it didn't work out and you have to do with these things. So in feature animation, you don't have live action plates, right? You actually get, you know, storyboards, you know. You don't have, for the most part, you do get animatics or layout work, but I mean, you get animatics and layout also in VFX, but usually because you're tied to the camera and to the plate, you don't have the freedom to do whatever you want. So, but the good thing about VFX is there is a guide. You use that plate, live action plate, as a guide. In feature animation, you don't have so much as a guide in terms of plate, but you do get layout work that is sent to you. So in feature animation, you get a bit more freedom, of course, because you don't have that live action plate, but that has its pros and cons. You know, you're not limited to live action plate. The camera and layout department will do that for you. So these are images actually of storyboards, and you know, because the boards were reading so well, we actually tried to match it in the film. The top one, actually they're both from How to Train Your Dragon 2, and where we tried to, you know, with the characters and the composition of, in animation, we tried to really match that, you know, these boards. So the next shot I'm going to show you guys is, let's see if I can go, is an example of what freedom allows you to do, especially the freedom you have in feature animation where you're not stuck to a specific camera. So I got this shot, you know, to get to like, let's say on a Monday, I get that shot. And in this shot, basically there is Astrid jumping on the back of her natter. And the intent of the shot was to make Astrid look really cool. So I get that shot and I spent about an hour on it. I put some, you know, some basic wind flap in there and kind of linearly have Astrid jump up. You know, there's no animation on this, it's just blocking. And then I show it to the director and the camera department to show like, this is not really working. We look at it because usually the intent of a shot is what you want to succeed at. If the shot is about Astrid being cool, no one cares about how cool the animation is. Astrid needs to look cool, so it needs to work really well. So what you guys see here is Astrid looking cool, you barely can see him, barely can see her. She gets cut off at the end, you don't even see her head, so that wasn't working. So the framing was off, so I tell the director, okay, I'm gonna do a pass at it where I try to lock her on camera. So of course I need a blessing from the camera department, and they tell me yes, I can do that. Now I lock him on camera. So at the end you're like, oh yeah, look, that works, you see her. Well, not really, because she gets cut off really quickly at the end too. You see her and then she's gone. So the shot was actually too short. So now they're like, okay, we need to extend the shot. I can't just go and extend it myself, because I'm going to mess up with the edit. So what they do is they tell me, hey, do a quick little pass, extend the shot, and then send it to the camera department, and they'll do what they're good at. Yeah, right. So no, they're good at it. So anyways, I do a tweak to it, I extend the shot myself. Of course, there's no animation to it, it's just the camera extended. And I show the camera department, hey, this is what, I think this is the length that I want, so let's make this work. They do their pass at it, they send it back to me, and I tweak my animation to actually work more with the shot. So now you see this, and you're like, oh yeah, you get some more time to see her. So we actually did that back and forth, you know, many more times, maybe 2 more times after that. And we kept bringing her closer to the camera to actually read her expressions. And in the end, you know, it looked like this in the film, because we had way more, we added about 19 more frames to this so she can get closer to camera. So this is the type of back and forth between animation and camera and the camera department that is very common in the feature animation, in feature animation. But something that is very, very rare in VFX, you're stuck to the live action plate. So that said, in games, especially for in-game animation, when you launch on a game, you get this. And that's it. So, well, no, you actually get the character as well. You would get a character in there, and this is a blank Maya scene. If you guys don't know what it is, Maya is a tool a lot of animators use for animation. You guys all know what Maya is? I'm sure. Awesome. I'm an idiot. And so you don't get, storyboards or animatics, you get, but what you do get, though, you get a little description of what you're supposed to do. So, for example, you get to make a wing slash out of this. You're like, awesome. As an animator now, you look at this, you're like, wait, I don't have a camera? I don't have a live action plate? I don't have storyboards? This is, I can do whatever I want. But no, you get that. Attack will be 150 frames long. Anticipation needs to be 60 frames. The wing needs to open around frame 30. The slash needs to last for 40 frames. The slash needs to be to do a spin on 360. The last pose of the slash needs to hold for 20 frames, and the creature needs to settle during the last 30 frames. Pretty crazy. You get exactly what you need to do for this to actually work. So, you don't have free reign, because in games, it's not animation that rules, actually game design. It needs to actually work. So actually, this creature is a behemoth from the game Toothless that is being launched, midway through the year. And Simon Unger, who is Simon? Where are you at? He's one of the animation supervisors there. And the game basically will have lots of creatures in there, lots of behemoths in there. And the wonderful team at Phoenix Lab partnered with us at Stimulus Studios to actually bring these creatures to life. So check it out when it comes out. It's going to be awesome. So for this next animation, we were to make this creature called a shrike land from a flying pose. So, and if you've worked in the VFX or film industry or feature animation, the chances of you doing a landing or taking off or a flying character is actually huge. Every movie now has a flying creature. So, I've done flying before, and we had to do this one. For example, when I was on Avatar, I had to do this shot where the Banshee, lands, comes out, Neytiri's Banshee. And there's one thing about this shot is there's a lot of cheats in this shot because, like I said, I had a camera to work with, I had a plate to work with, and I had to, I had a lot of guide. I have a huge guide to work with. So if you look at this shot from the side, it actually doesn't work because this creature is way too big to be landing that fast because he comes out really fast and then he just stops and starts to land. I didn't have much time, but you don't always notice it because I had to do, some cheats. I mean, the distance between that tree and the branch he lands was way too short. So what I did is I exaggerated the up and down of that character's chest. A lot of up and down, probably more than I should have, to kind of, trick the audience into looking at something else instead of the fact that he just stops immediately. So there are cheats you can do because you have a still camera and you can animate to the camera. So you can do these cheats. And that happens all the times, maybe in VFX or feature animation. So you can get away with things. But when it comes to games, you do not have this luxury. For the Shrike on Dauntless, we didn't have that chance to actually cheat. Josiah Massengill, our lead on Dauntless, had to make sure it works from all angles. And why that was cool is because we're able to use that same animation in the trailer. And that's something we would not have been able to do if we didn't make sure it looks good from every angle. So that's something that's really cool. Sometimes in games you can get away with you reusing the animation because it looks good from different angles. So the next thing I want to talk about is how important the rigging department is, with animation. Riggers and animators are the best of friends. Actually, not all the time, but it's really important for animators and riggers to actually nurture this relationship. And Jared Snover at DreamWorks, one of the best riggers I've ever worked with. And I will never forget when I was launched on the Bouillabaisse. I was called to Simon Otto's office, my animation director, and he said, "Hey, Jalil, we need to do a test to show Jeffrey Katzenberg, and we're going to see the Bouillabaisse for the first time." I was like, "Oh, that's great! I'm excited about this. I didn't know that the rig was ready." He goes, "Oh yeah, and the rig is not ready." I was like, so you want me to do a test to show the boss, to sell a dragon to him, and the rig is not ready, and he needs to like it? I was like, I love my job. I don't want to get fired. He goes, "You'll be fine." "You'll be fine, okay, sure." So I run to the riggers, and I'm like, "Okay, guys, so we need to do this Bouillabaisse test. Can we do that?" It's awesome to work with a team of riggers that will say yes to everything. They would be like, "Oh yeah, of course we can." "Oh yeah," and they're like, "Oh yeah, but the body isn't ready. We only have the head." I was like, "Only the head is rigged?" He goes, "Yes." "Oh, actually, the jaw is broken and the eyes are broken." I was like, "How am I going to do this?" I go, "Oh, we'll be fine. We'll just fix the head for you and fix the jaw and fix the eyes. You'll be fine." It's like, all right. So it's great that that they can do that because they worked all night, got the rig ready for me the next day. And so my point is that not always are the rigs ready, especially in feature animation. So after a few days, I was able to do a test with it. As you can see, its neck is broken, the spikes are broken, legs don't work. But I used the head, the jaw, whatever I had to kind of sell the animation. And we showed it to Jeffrey, and he liked it, and I did lose my job. So, my point here is that in feature animation, there's usually more R&D time. The early teams get to do performance tests with the rough rigs, and usually all the animation you do during this test are never seen on screen. So, but the great thing is that you get to know your character really, really well when you have so much time. In games, it's kind of similar in some ways because the production time is actually longer than in VFX because you usually approach things in iteration. Sometimes you do get unfinished rigs to work with, and then they update the rig, then you have to redo the animation, just like that. In VFX, rigs tend to be further along when you start your animation. VFX studios are used to faster turnarounds. The downside is that usually you don't have enough time to do R&D. VFX studios also work on more projects, so they need a much better, straightforward, streamlined rigging system. Sometimes VFX studios would take on similar projects back to back. For example, on Narnia and now the museum, we actually used almost the same rig that we use on Aslan and the lions on now the museum. Not many people know that. Hey, Rhythm and Hughes is closed down, so they can't sue me anymore for saying that. It's so mean. I love Rhythm and Hughes. So, anyways, that's that. So, in VFX, timing is based on performance. I don't know why I'm saying feature over there. Did I get something wrong? All right, maybe. I'll keep going. So in VFX, timing is based on performance but limited to shot length. Why is this? Maybe. What that means is, I'm going to keep going, guys. Sorry, I think the slide might be off. What that means is, oh, you know what? Because I already talked about that. I'm going to fast forward this. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So in VFX, timing is based on performance but limited to shot length. What that means is the focus is still on a great performance, but your animation needs to be done within the length of the live action plate, which we talked about earlier. In feature, timing is based on performance, like we spoke about earlier, but shots can be extended, when you need it. But there is a huge con to that, to having the freedom of time and, and shot length. Sometimes there's so much focus put on performance that important information is, are overlooked. So that board, which I showed you guys earlier, when you look at these storyboards, actually, when you look at the framing at the top, the framing is actually better than what I did in my animation. And the reason for that was because, the director really wanted us to make sure that we can focus on the eye of the Bouillabaisse when he comes out of the water. So I'm going to show you that shot, and you'll see what I mean. So this was the shot of the Bouillabaisse come out of the water, and the director was like, okay, we need to spend a lot of time. You guys see my mouse? Oh, no, you can't. Okay. When the creature comes out, the screen right eye needs to be clear that he actually looks at Drago, because Drago is showing where he needs to go. But this shot was difficult to do because it was very busy. There's a lot of stuff going on in this shot. Don't know why it stopped playing. And I had to make sure that I tone down on the rest. For example, tone down on Drago a little bit, make sure the boat doesn't cover the eyes where it needs to. Is it playing? No, it's not. And so we spent a lot of time on this shot to actually make sure that it works. I don't know why it's not playing, guys. I apologize about that. I spent probably about 2 weeks just back and forth just to make sure all that stuff is, all the timing is there. And then you send that shot to the effects department. And that's what came back. Yeah. So right there is where I spent most of my time on. Right there. Where he's supposed to be looking at Drago. So that's an example of how much time we spent on trying to tweak the eye to make it read. And guess what? They took the boat out as well. And I didn't realize it until I didn't realize it when I watched the film, until the guys at work was like, hey, they took the boat out. I was like, they took the boat out. Sons of bitches. So, the effects department, everybody's trying to show off. This is another example. This is the Bouillabaisse going up, and what I wanted to do here is really, put some jiggle in that jaw, when the Bouillabaisse lands down right there, because I wanted to show weight. This thing is really huge. Send it to the effects department, comes back looking like this. Uh-oh. There is some, oh no, he just crashed on me. Let's do that again. Oh no. Oh yeah, it just crashed. Control delete, does that work?
I'm just going to stand over your shoulder and pretend like I'm helping.
Yeah, I got this.
Do that one. Yeah, then click on
Got it.
Then do that.
How much time do I have? I'll really go quickly through it. Let's see, we were right here. Okay, cool. So, and it came back like this. This is all the jiggle in the jaw. Fantastic, Jalil. Well done. This is another one where I wanted to put a lot more jiggle in the jaw because, yeah, the director was like, let's sell the impact. Let's make sure this lands and is really powerful. It's like, I got this. Goes to the effect department, comes back. Yeah, we don't need to see it again. Nothing to look at. The next one is my Magnum Opus. This is the one where I actually spent a long time on. Make sure that, I actually 2D the effects so the effects department can follow this. Get all the little jiggle in him, make sure all the dragons shooting at him, it's selling all the impact. Spent 2 weeks on this. So happy with the shot, how it was coming along. And sent it to the effects department. Comes back like this. I'm going to write a book about how I've been screwed by the effects department. And guys should buy it. It's going to make a lot of money. So I think this is it for now. This is the first half of, I got a sequel at 6 o'clock, I think. And so be here. We have some more stuff to talk about. And then we'll do a Q&A as well. Thank you very much. All right, so this is where we were. All right, so timing and performance. So in games, timing is based on gameplay. Extending an animation depends on the game designer. All animations are very specific, have very specific timing. So what I'm going to show you guys right now is actually from the game Toothless. And what you're seeing is what we should be playing. Oh, it just crashed. I think we might need to restart it. Sorry, guys. Any questions? so far? Seriously, any questions? Because we'll have to restart it. Okay.
We're going to do this. It's going to be great. I'm going to do a little song and dance. I don't know what I'm doing.
I saw your face.
Oh, don't name and shame.
The concept of swing sets that was just presented.
Right.
Do you do anything like that in your facial animation?
Yeah.
You probably want to repeat the question.
So the question was the concept of swing set. Do we do something like that? We actually did not do what he did, which was awesome, because I'm going to take this idea now. I'm going to do it at the studio as well. Animate it through. I think it was fantastic. But we do have like visemes and phonemes that we go through. We do all the shapes. And actually, Mike will talk about that during his talk, which we worked with Volition on Agents of Mayhem, where we actually did some of these faces. But I'm going to take your idea, dude.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's it like, because your studio right now, that takes a lot of animation work from other studios, right? So is that the way you think the industry is going? Do you think there's going to be more and more animation studios used as kind of like insourcing?
Yeah, it's something that we actually fell into. The question was, Steamroller Studios, where I'm at right now, we actually have we're working on a lot of bigger studios to do all of the animation, not all of the animation, but helping them with the animation work. And it's something that is kind of new because outsourcing has always been around, but in games especially, it's always been in-house. But they're discovering now, because quality of games are actually getting better and better and better, people are starting to realize, well, maybe we do need help, with other teams, because it's difficult to hire a bunch of animators and then maintain that, sustain the amount of work for a long period of time. So it's a lot of money just to bring in 20 animators just for a few months and lay them off. So what they do now, a lot of bigger studios are actually doing this. They find a studio out there, a self-contained unit team that they can do that. They can just, they have 6 or 7 animators they can dedicate to another project. I mean, we've done this with Dauntless, with Phoenix Lab, with Epic, on Fortnite, with Prey on Arcane, and we've also Agents of Mayhem as well. And I don't know if that's the future of it, but it's definitely working out for us. Yeah. Yep.
Previously, there's a trick about like using your hand as a reference for like some of the weird creatures.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was laughing when I saw that, because that's something that we do a lot. At DreamWorks, I would actually, because it's so fast to do that, you don't have to go in a room and shoot reference. I actually would take my little figurines and just film it, doing an action. I would take on Rise of the Guardians for Jack Frost flying, I actually use little Ninja Turtles to just make him fly. I have to find the shot somewhere. But I just had, I got the timing right with my hands. I just animated it, because with your hands, you can get the timing that you want. Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about that in a second. Cool. All right. So, so this video, which I was going to talk about, is what you're seeing here is a gray box version of an animation, and we're going to use the behemoth from Dauntless called Embermane. And what we do is we find a motion that we actually like. We get a timing that actually feels right to us by just animating this little box right there. It's not playing anymore, but we're gonna keep going. And when we like this timing, then we actually go and block it. And usually what we do is we keep it in step mode, which is what you're seeing right now, where we get to focus on the actual poses. We don't worry about spline for now. And for this character, the team at Phoenix Lab, they really wanted us to get a lot of personality in these creatures, when somebody was just talking about personality earlier. Hence why we did the few little steps, because we knew Embermane would be a stalker. He would try and follow you. So we did that. When this gets approved, then we go on and we spline it. And then that version, we actually send it to the game designers, and when they would take this and put this in the game. The thing is, I remember that meeting with Simon and his team, and they would come back to us and be like, yeah, Jalil, the amount of time that he's stalking these first few steps would allow give the player a chance to actually run behind him and attack him. So we had to change that. They said, hey, can you make that faster? So we went back to the drawing board. Well, not really back to the drawing board, but we went back and sped that up. Send it back to them, they take a look at it, and it was still too fast. So we went back and forth a couple of times, and we realized we can't actually keep that part of the animation. Again, like I said, animation, doesn't matter how cool your animation is, it's based on game design and gameplay. So in the end, it just ended up being something like this, where we took out the whole, stalking move, which was really cool. But what ended up happening was the game designer, who's super cool to work with, Ian, and he looked at it and said, actually, I really like this stalking move. Maybe we can cut that in half and then use that somewhere else. So it shows that even animation can influence game design. If they see something cool, they can think about, where can I use this? And it actually can work. So that was something that worked out really well for us. Next. So making creatures believable is something that I've been, talking about a lot, and I think that will answer your question. So one common aspect of the process of animation is how do you make a creature believable? And that's crucial, and there are no secrets to that. All creature animators will do it in a different way, but not every creature animation is actually successful. So how do you imagine, that was your question, I think, how do you imagine the motion of something that doesn't exist? Well, you relate it to a creature or animal that actually exists. And, that can take time, and in VFX, usually that takes longer, because usually the director in VFX films are not in-house, so you have to do something, try something out, and then send it to them. Sometimes it could take months. On Avatar with James Cameron, he was in LA for the most part, so it would take a long time for us to get approval on something. But in feature, at DreamWorks, for example, the director is always there, he's in-house, and you would do something on Dragons 2, we would do a dragon, he's right there, he looks at it, he likes it, or he doesn't like it, you keep working on it. It was much faster to get something that actually works. So part of the planning is to pick the animal or the character that actually can inspire your creature. Take Toothless, for example. You guys know Toothless, How to Train Your Dragon? The reason why Toothless is so loved is because it's a mixture of a cat and a dog. Pets that we can all relate to. Most of Toothless in the first Dragons film was actually a cat. And while most of Toothless in the second Dragons film was actually a dog. Because in the first film, Toothless is the mysterious, human killer, but in the second film, he's the best friend of Hiccup. So hence the choice, for a dog. Crusoe as well, from the film, which most of you haven't seen, The Water Horse. No one has seen that movie. But it was really fun because we used the same thing. We actually used puppies, for Crusoe and seals, and we mixed that together. And it was probably one of my favorite, character to work on was that little guy, because he was a little puppy, and we made him cute so the audience can connect with it. Again, the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist, but that was something that we decided to go with, is use pets that people can relate to. The Bouillabaisse from How to Train Your Dragon 2, they were a serious challenge, because definitely on the opposite spectrum of Toothless. Toothless is mostly puppy, cute, cuddly, but the Bouillabaisse were massive, majestic, threatening. Again, this was another creature that I had no idea how it would move, but or what reference that I would use. So, I knew it had to be big, it was a monster, but still it had to feel like an animal. So the good Bouillabaisse was the king, proud, powerful. The bad Bouillabaisse was the tortured soul, the injured animal. And the director, Dean, really wanted it to feel like it was the king of the dragons against the caged soul. So it was definitely hard to relate to them, but the fact that Valka and the other dragons had so much respect for these two dragons, it was enough to actually, connect with them. So for the battle sequence, which took me about 5 weeks to animate, we wanted the two Bouillabaisse to feel like two mountains, fighting each other. And you can see, we used different animals. We couldn't find one. We used, polar bears and bighorns for that first part. We use bulls and buffaloes and moose, to actually do the locking the horns. We use the elephant seal for the under the neck attack. I would do reference all the time, just looking at all these animals for this twist. I used the grizzly bear. attacks for that. It was a mixture of all these animals that we've seen before, we can relate to. And that sequence took me about 5 weeks to do, and by the time this was done, I was completely exhausted because it took the life out of me. But in games now, we do very similar type of reference work. This is again from the game Dauntless, being done by the team at Phoenix Labs. And we treat creatures with the same care and as much attention to detail as we do in films. This is something that is more common today because of the high quality of video games. 5 years ago, it would be rare to see subtle shakes in a creature's head, body, or tail. Nowadays, we want characters and creatures to in our games to match those in VFX or feature animation. So for Dauntless, we are applying everything we've learned from the film industry. We're not shying away from a good performance. We want these behemoths to feel alive. We want the players to feel that they are hunting creatures with real personalities. For Shrike, we use owl and bear, obviously. And eagles, for the wings, and also cats for some of the locomotion. For Embermane, we use mostly, big cats. For Pangar, we used birds, and also Jurassic Park. We use Jurassic Park as reference. Yes, we do. So the length of time of animation, the amount of time let me see. So time management is incredibly important. In feature animation, you are allowed more time to do more research, like I mentioned before. Usually, a feature animated film will average between 30 and 80 animators. Depending on where you work. For example, DreamWorks would be 40 animators on a film, and Disney could go up to 70 animators. In VFX, usually they would end up with 80 animators, but they have really short deadlines, so it's very, very strict. Sometimes they would go over 100 as well. In games, they have longer production time as well, but on average, you'll get about 7 animators. That's if you're lucky on one production. And then Naughty Dog, they have 40. That broke my theory. But for the most games companies would have a small amount of animators. It's more developers, more designers, more programmers, and less on the animation side. Hence your question, Gwen. Instead of hiring a bunch of animators, they try to outsource it to different places. So the last shot I'm going to show you guys. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have to go through that. So the last shot I'm going to show you guys is it's a shot that it's an example of how having too much time sometimes can be a bad thing if you don't manage your time really well. So we're gonna watch this shot, and I got that shot. That was the shot that I got right after I did the battle between the two Bouillabaisse. And right after this shot, I was going to jump onto the battle between the Bouillabaisse and Toothless. And so it was 2 huge shot sequences I was supposed to do, and then in the middle, I was waiting for the sequence to be ready. I get this shot, and they told me that I had 2 weeks to do it. I was like, 2 weeks to do this shot? They're like, yeah, 2 weeks. I was like, okay, that's awesome. And I didn't want to ask too many questions because I was like, I can do that in a day. This is awesome. I got 2 weeks to do this. So I go back to my desk, but I did ask, I was like, there's nothing else. Like, oh yeah, there'll be some background dragons, and crowds will take care of that. I was like, great, so I don't have to do anything. So I didn't have any more questions. I went back to my desk, and I said, wow, I can go home early. I can, relax on this one. So I would basically, key the head, move the head around, watch some YouTube videos, walk around, get some coffee, talk to some friends, come back to my desk. Head doesn't look good. Move the head again, key it. Some more YouTube videos. I did this for 4 days. And I get a call back. I get a call on Friday, and my production manager is like, so, Jalil, when are you showing your shot? I was like, Monday. So, week is gone. They're like, Monday, okay. Well, you don't have to show all of the baby dragons. Just show just a couple if you have them done. I was like, how about baby dragon? There were 7 baby dragons in the shot. I just didn't know. And so I was like, okay, yeah, Marsh, I'll show them on Monday. I was terrified, and I sat down at my desk. I was cold, and my buddy Ted T walks by, and he goes, dude, what's going on? I'm like, dude, I've got 7 dragons to do, and I've got 5.5 days. He goes, That's about 1.4 dragons a day. You're dead, man. so I was like, he's like, okay, listen, dude, what you do is have fun with this shot, and if not, you will go insane. So well, that's what I learned from this shot was, having fun with whatever you do is incredibly important, because you think working on movies is fun. Yeah, it's fun, but there are days where you just don't want to be there, and you need to force yourself to have fun. And there are ways to do that, and on this shot, I learned how to do that. So what I did is, for the next two and a half days, I just started building cycles similar to what I would do in games. So I used I wasn't in games that time. I hadn't done games that time, but I used similar ways of doing things. I would build little cycles. I'd build a little flap cycle, a little tail cycle, a little idle, and I would populate my dragons, my baby dragons, with that, and then put them on the Bouillabaisse and blend them in between. So in 3 days, I had 6 dragons to show. So these were, super simple in there, just simple cycles. I had to animate the end of the shot where they were flying off. Of course, I was a little more manual. But I showed it on Wednesday, and then I had, a couple of days to finish the rest. So what I did, though, was have fun with these characters. I told myself I've got 1.4 dragons a day, and I had to have fun with each of them. For example, the bottom guy on the right, he's trying to pee, and he doesn't have a chance because the Bouillabaisse stands up. The one right above, he's licking the Bouillabaisse because he has cravings for salt. The guy right above him, he's actually teething, so you'll see he's actually biting, the eyebrows. One's flying in front of his face. The 2 on the left are trying to go for a nap, but they can't. One tries to bite the other guy. And then there's one more little guy. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but he's up above the tusk. He shows up right there. Hold on, you see him again. Watch for it. He'll show up right there. Little guy up there. His name is Tobias. His story is actually massive, and I wanted him to showcase in the whole battle when he falls off, but I didn't have time to do that. But the lighters were really cool because they saw the dragon. They came to say, "Hey, you have a dragon, random dragon." It's not random, dude. He's got a story. He's the reason he's back there. One. So they actually put some lighting there, so that you would see the dragon in the end, because if not, it would be all dark and you wouldn't see him. So, that's where it is, having fun. Make sure that's the thing I learned is from this shot was, make sure you ask questions. If you have too much time to do something, there is a catch somewhere. Don't watch fucking YouTube videos, just fucking animate. And make sure that you have fun with what you do, because you're there for a reason. And all animators know if it can get difficult, even though it's a fun job, it's still stressful. That's it for me. Thank you very much. And any questions? Yeah, go ahead. The creature design? Oh, man.
Please repeat the question.
Oh, sorry. The question was, sorry, can you say the question?
How often will what you want to do in animation affect the design of the creature? You have to go back to the creature.
Wow.
I made this change because I want it to be there.
How often is it that animation affects the creature design that we have to go back and redesign the creature? That's rare. It's never happened to me, often. Maybe it happens, maybe with a character's tail, if the tail feels too big, they might, but it takes so long to build a character and then rig it to get to animation, then go, okay, that design is not working. There's a huge flaw somewhere there. And usually it's whatever they'll give us, the animator's job is to find the right reference for that creature to work. If it doesn't exist, you make it up. But usually the other way around, I don't know, any of you guys have that happen to you? I don't think it happens. If not, there's a big problem in the pipeline somewhere. Bad design goes all the way to animation. But in terms of personality, yes, that does happen. For example, discovering a character, maybe the original idea of a creature just gets altered when you get to animation. You start discovering, that's what this creature will do. Maybe the designers had an idea, for example, the Bouillabaisse, the modeler designed him to be standing in a certain way, but when I animated him, I didn't make him stand that way because I didn't feel it was right for him to stand that way. So yeah, that does get changed, but not really the actual design. Yeah, good question. Last question?
Can you talk, I also come from a visual effects and feature animation background.
Yay.
Can you talk a little bit about building cycles that will transition from one to the other, or one to any of another. That's something in visual effects or feature film that you can hand animate, but you have to. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Do I have to repeat the question? No, it's good. Okay, good. So the question. So your question was, how do we do cycles in VFX as well? And yes, we do, and we actually do that early on, depending on how much time you got in a film. On a movie like Avatar, which took 3 years to make, like 7 months out of that is just character development, where you would animate cycles. You would figure out how a character would fly. You would figure out how the Thanator would run because it had 6 legs. And it was all about building these cycles that eventually we can reuse when we're blocking our shot. Usually you use it when you're blocking your shot. You can reuse some of that cycle. For Crusoe, for example, on Waterhorse, I did do a walk cycle because a lot of my shots had walking in there. Instead of reanimating every time, I would do a cycle that I would reuse. On Narnia, we had a year and a half to do it, so we had a little bit more time. But on movies like Rise of the Apes, we had 8 months to do that. And Rise of Planet of the Apes, sorry. We had 8 months to do that, so we didn't have too much time. We did some personality tests, but we didn't have time to actually do a lot of cycles. In games, we do that, every day. So yes, you do that when you have time in VFX and feature animation, but not so much all the time, just because it all depends on time, how much time you've got. Hopefully I answered your question. Thanks a lot, guys.